I think that is problematic is to suggest that, number one, that transgender athletes are the biggest problem in women's sports. And I think this is what's bothersome, is that there's a faction of people in our country that are making this a massive...
You are Cheryl Reeve, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. That is an irresponsible thing to do. You are a coach for a female basketball team. Do you not think that the females are being screwed over if they have to compete against a individual born as a male? What are you talking about?
Obviously bringing Juliet over to the WNBA.
Yeah, would that be fair?
Listen, yes, it would be fair if a team from the WNBA believes that Juliet can help the team. Could he? I should say, I'm going to say he, by the way, because that's exactly what he is. Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, right now, the WNBA consists primarily of women who have come through the traditional route, which is the WNBA draft.
Cheryl Reeve is back in the headlines, and this time, she's the one contradicting herself in real time. First, it was men taking jobs away from women in this league, coaching jobs, front office jobs, every seat at the table women fought decades to earn. Then, in almost the same breath, it's men should be welcome to play in the WNBA if they identify. As women point to positions, same person, same season. And now that Julie Tatar is being floated to the Indiana Fever, the internet wants to know if Reeve's welcoming stance survives contact with an actual dominant player who isn't on her own roster.
My views, as I said last week, I come from a space of inclusion.
All right, so right out of the gate, she frames herself as the compassionate one. And we know this is one of the oldest persuasion techniques that there is. Before she answers the question, she defines herself as inclusive, which immediately implies that anyone who disagrees must be coming from a place of exclusion. But here's the problem. The WNBA is an exclusionary league. Women's basketball exists because it excludes males. So inclusion isn't the issue. The issue is who is eligible for the female category.
And the narrative that I think that is problematic is to suggest that, number one, that transgender athletes are the biggest problem in women's sports. And that,
doing what everyone else does, notice that she changes the question. Nobody asked whether this is the biggest problem. That's a straw man. The real question is much simpler. Should males be eligible for women's sports? And she never answers that.
Cheryl Reeve wants you to know she's fighting for women. She said it herself, loud and clear. Men have been taking jobs away from women in this league, and she's not talking about players, she's talking about coaching staffs, front offices, every seat at the table that used to belong to a woman and now doesn't. Strong stance, bold stance, the kind of stance that gets you a standing ovation at a press conference.
This is the reason why so many people, they're trying to take the WNBA seriously and they can't. Because every day it's another narrative. It's another person pushing an agenda. It's another person trying to combat what another person says. Cheryl Reeves, you are 2 months away from being 60 years old. What the hell is this? Kathy needs to suspend you. This is terrible from you as a coach. You know better. Why are you blowing up something that's already out there? Something that people do not need to be focusing on, but to focus on the game.
Because exclusion is never the answer. Separate isn't equal. And trans lives matter. And so to take away something so valuable that sports brings to young people in particular, and what it does, as I have a youngster, and encourage them to be a part of a team and what it gives you in the way of, whether it's teamwork, leadership, competitive, all the things, they have every right to that as well.
And this is what I keep talking about when I say we live in a backwards society. Sophie Cunningham, a WNBA player, one of the most notable WNBA players in the league now, is trying to defend women's rights. And the same women she's trying to defend are attacking her. Because it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. It doesn't matter what you mean by it. All it looks like is you support Trump. And these women have Trump derangement syndrome. They don't understand that you're making women's sports safer and fair so that they don't have to get in a ring and box a man. So they don't have to spend their entire life training to be beaten by a man who wasn't good enough to play in the NBA. Like, so she's doing what she can to protect the sanctity of the sports that she loves. And you guys are attacking her for it. That is the craziest, most backward shit I have ever seen or heard, bro. I've never heard anything like this. So you don't want fair sports for women?
It's primarily of women who have come through the traditional route, which is the WNBA draft. Only about 15 of the 200 players in the WNBA have come from outside leagues in other countries. So it isn't a common practice. What I don't want the WNBA to do is to go over and say, okay, we will prove what we're saying here and bring them over just because they're trying to silence the critics. That's not the reason to do it, honestly. I mean, you can listen to social media all you want, but that's not if he can truly help a team, certainly go do it. And then everybody would certainly be able to say, all right, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They don't need to do that. They don't need to do that right now. So I don't believe it would happen. And even if they wanted to, that's the question. Would they actually do it? I don't believe, ladies, that they would do it because we know what would happen. We know the differences between men and women, and he is averaging.
Julie Tattart, I think is her name, or his name, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Trans since 2001, 6'3", averaging 20 in France's Liga number 2. I can watch her in 2 minutes and say she would be great in the WNBA, or he would be great, whatever you want to call it. You think they'll ever do that? Think they'll pull the trigger on this woman? Guy?
That can ball, Dan. That can ball. I watched her highlights. That is a bad. Not only did she average 20 points, 20 rebounds. We're talking about a 20-20 guy. I mean, if the WNBA is inclusive, then this French all-star WNBA team has to sign her. And this is why I said I put in a franchise application, Dan. The Nashville Balls, my WNBA team, would be the greatest dynasty of all time. Most inclusive, too. We're only signing men who identify as women. Our slogan is one love, two balls, and we are going to absolutely just dominate.